What's going on, guys? Welcome to Everything Always. My name's Michael Roman, aka Allfires. Now, there are still a ton of question marks as they pertain to the Marvel slate and the Multiverse saga, and this is something that we expect them to go a long way in addressing this summer at either San Diego Comic-Con Hall H or D23, which incidentally are only weeks apart if Marvel decides to do presentations at both. Now, while we patiently wait for that, there are some question marks right in front of us and some films that need to go to filming and on the calendar in the next 24 months, but still don't have directors, namely Spider-Man 4, which has been making its own rounds in the industry insider mill here as of late with nothing but bad news, something we have not covered yet at the channel, well, because there's been other stuff breaking, and the other is the new Avengers films, where we know who's writing both films, that's Michael Waldron, but we have no idea who's directing. Well, according to one industry insider specifically, we're about to get an update on those two films, and imminently. We're breaking down their latest update, where it came from, and what it means for these movies, plus the latest round of names we've heard tied to possibly directing these films. But first, if you could grab the subscribe button. We do daily Marvel content at the channel, and that's all we do. Everything from official Easter egg breakdowns, trailers, and reviews, to the occasional industry insider report and everything in between. So if that sort of thing's for you, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment down below. That will automatically enter you to win our ongoing PS5 giveaway. The next one is right around the corner to coincide with X-Men 97 next month. Again, all you gotta do, be a subscriber, leave a comment if you want, stick around to the end of the video. We get into all the giveaway stuff again there. Okay, so today's update actually comes from trusted industry insider Daniel Rickman, a source we've been re-reporting on confidently for years now at the channel, but now recently has major outlets like The Hollywood Reporter and Deadline running his stories and citing him. So congratulations to his recent success, but they're only finding out what we've known for quite some time, is that he's super reliable. His latest update was that he can't wait to find out who's directing Avengers and the next Spider-Man movie, Spider-Man 4, and that we should know soon. So I'm expecting we're going to find out something about these directors, and there's a good reason for that, because some of them are hoping to roll film and in the next 12 months. Now, where we stand with both films is this. Avengers 5 originally had Destin Daniel Cretton attached to direct it, but recently he's departed the film and has been confirmed by Simu Liu, and just days ago he will definitely be directing Shang-Chi 2. We expect that to be announced as part of the extended multiverse slate and before we wrap up with Avengers Secret Wars. Now, Michael Waldron was writing Avengers Secret Wars, but Jeff Loveness was of course on Kang Dynasty. Now that Kang Dynasty was yesterday confirmed to be changing titles, they're retooling it and rewriting the movies from scratch. We've had several updates here at the channel about that, but Michael Waldron, the guy writing Avengers Secret Wars, is also now the guy writing Avengers 5, whatever it ends up being called. And because he says specifically the Avengers director, not Avengers 5 director, not Avengers 6 director, to me, that's the biggest confirmation in this update of all, and something that we've been speculating here at the channel for quite some time, that whatever director they go with for Avengers Secret Wars will probably and should probably just do Avengers 5 and Avengers 6 to make sure that there's a degree of continuity there. So logically, I think it'll just be one person directing both films the way the Russos did both Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, and that's probably for the best. Now, speaking of the Russos, the last name that we had heard in several times tied to the possibility of directing Secret Wars was none other than Sam Raimi, who obviously did Multiverse of Madness and the Spider-Man movies. And I think when you just look at the names of directors that have worked with Marvel recently and that could helm blockbusters this big and of this magnitude, I guess his name actually makes the most sense, but he wouldn't be my first pick to do Avengers Secret Wars and Avengers, again, whatever 5 is going to be, perhaps Secret Wars Part 1 and Part 2, which also seems logical. I just think that Sam Raimi would do a good job with the film, but there are other names that I would prefer, and we'll talk about those in just a second. Now, as far as Spider-Man 4 stands, I have not done any coverage here at the channel about the very public rumors about a major conflict between Sony and Marvel, which, gotta be honest, no surprise there. And when you take a step back and just sort of look from a bird's eye view at what's going on over at Sony, Marvel's gotta be like, hey, we've got our own fires to put out here. Kevin Feige does not have time to put out Sony fires as well, especially when the reported rift is at the heart of the film, where Marvel wants to keep it grounded in street level, Kingpin and Daredevil, and Sony wants to keep it multiversal, Toby and Andrew. Which, look, I know that a lot of us want to see Tobey and Andrew again in the MCU, but I'm not sure Spider-Man 4 is the right place for it, and why even reset Peter Parker's story the way they did if you weren't going to lead into something street level like this. I just think that Sony can't get out of their own way with the recent bomb of Madam Web. There's been reports that over on the Sony lot, the mood is extremely gloomy. I don't know if you also saw the headline that apparently Madam Web bombing not only wiped out any future sequel, but actually canceled the whole slate of films they had planned behind this. We reported on that as their Spider-Geddon plan, and it's funny, I seem to recall saying in years ago when this news first broke that it doesn't matter if they have plans for Spider-Geddon if they can't get through the next couple of films. Well, that's a topic for a totally different video. Now, the reports about the director for Spider-Man 4 have been that Sony wants to put Jon Watts back in that chair and that Kevin Feige does not want that. He wants someone else to take over Spider-Man 4, do something a little different, and actually move Jon Watts to other films. Either way, if Sony is intent on rushing this movie and getting it out ASAP, well, that only further supports us finding out who the director is going to be. But leave it to Sony to screw this one up. And I think, honestly, really, Marvel has so much going right now with what they are doing. So when I hear about Kevin Feige being spread too thin, where I've always been really quick to say in the last 4 or 5 years, you don't become ubiquitous, the best producer in Hollywood, by quote-unquote becoming spread too thin. You have systems in place, people who work underneath you to be able to appropriate time the way you need to. I think it's just so disrespectful to be like, he's spread so thin. Yeah, that's literally his job as president of Marvel Studios. But this is one of the times I'm actually inclined to believe it, because again, Marvel is not doing as great as they've been. He has got to make sure he's on top of his stuff, and I could just see Sony coming to the door with all their demands, wanting to make it multiversal this and multiversal that, and we need to get a Morbius cameo and all this stuff, and Kevin Feige just being like, you know what? No. Team him up with Daredevil, cross him against Kingpin, problem solved. And according to the latest Industry Insider update, apparently Kingpin is in the version of the script, but they haven't talked to Vincent D'Onofrio. That coming from the same source that we just heard we're going to hear directors from soon. Now look, it might be a pipe dream at this point, something that's just completely impossible, and there may be some of you who disagree, and for good reason, that this is a good idea. But if I were Kevin Feige and there's any possibility of this, I would grab the Russos to do Avengers 5 and Avengers 6. I think you would just instantly garner a lot of fan favor and almost immediate nostalgia, even though it hasn't even been a full decade since we saw Avengers Endgame. But the Russos would offer Marvel Studios something that they desperately need, and that is stability and a known commodity in the final product. Look, they haven't done an Avengers 5 and Avengers 6. Shoot, they haven't done an Avengers film outside of Infinity War and Avengers Endgame since the Russos last helmed that franchise. And I know a lot has changed in the meantime, and that the Russos have Agbo, their own production company, and even them themselves, the last time they even said anything about this, said they wouldn't be free and until the end of the decade in order to work on something like this. We are rapidly approaching the end of the decade. In fact, if Secret Wars gets just another delay, it could be 2028, add a year on top of that, all of a sudden we're literally there, 2029, 2030. I just think from Marvel's standpoint, there's so much riding on these films, you cannot afford to swing and miss on the director, and maybe that's the main reason why they haven't picked a director for Avengers Secret Wars and whoever will end up directing Avengers 5 yet. And I also think there's a reason why they've been lining this up and so slowly. It's just figuring out a way to get the Russos to commit. That might be just wishful thinking, but you guys let me know down below, because apparently it is not set in stone. Who is your pick to direct Avengers 5 and 6? Who's your pick to direct Spider-Man 4? I am all ears as always. Let me know in the comments. Quickly, let's get into the giveaway stuff before I let you go. Alright, we are still giving away PlayStation 5s here at the channel. We're going to continue to do so till the PlayStation 5 Pro or the 6 comes out. Who knows at this rate which comes first. Either way, the next one is going to be for X-Men 97's finale. If you want to be entered to win, all you have to do hit the subscribe button, then leave a comment down below, because it's truly random. The more videos you comment on, the better chance you have of winning. All winners will be announced at the end of videos, the same way we're doing here. The best way to keep up with the content has always been to hit the notification bell with all notifications turned on. And as always, if you liked today's video, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit the like button. My name is Michael Roman. You can find me in a couple of places, Instagram and Twitter at IamFires. You can also find me on Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Apple, iTunes, wherever you listen to original music under the name Allfires. And while I sincerely appreciate you checking the music out, thanks for checking this channel out. Stick around. We'll be posting again real soon.